interestingly, you too have also been reported under the new hate crime legislation, and it actually, for many Scots who've reported you, goes back to a speech you made in 2020 where you went through a whole series of important senior public posts in Scotland which are held by white people, and you made a very powerful point about how white so many important positions in Scotland are, and you said it's not good enough. Now, Scotland is 96% white, and there are some very active people, particularly on social media, who are saying Humza Yousaf's message was essentially racist. It was anti-white. And I, for one, feel that this is stirring up hatred against me as a white person.
I thought Humza Yousaf was off of my radar for a while. I thought the video I did about his white speech in the Scottish Parliament was all I was going to say about him for a while. And then I see this. The BBC have interviewed him. They've interviewed him because the first 4,000 complaints that went into Police Scotland were largely about him and his white speech that I personally found insulting, aggressive against white people and racist. Obviously, Police Scotland don't think that because of the person that said it. But that's how I found it. And I was amazed when I saw this interview.
The police aren't interested. They say it's nonsense. They're certainly not going to investigate it. But under the new legislation, the police also have to, as I understand it, record it as a non-criminal hate incident, and you will be named. How do you feel about that?
So a couple of points to make. The description of those who reference that speech as hatred, I've not seen anybody who has described it in that way that isn't, frankly, part of the far right.
I've always thought that Humza Yousaf is a far left racist. But now I also think, just my personal opinion, that he's also a psychopath. Because when he gets asked here what he thinks about those people that found his white speech offensive, he says he's only seen people that are far right. See, he's not just an unelected First Minister of a country. He's also psychic. He can see inside people's brains. He can see inside their psyche, which he must be able to, I suppose, to introduce a hate law like he's introduced, where the police presumably know the intent in someone's mind when they said something. The police will presumably know how this person thinks in the same way that Humza Yousaf does.
The description of those who reference that speech as hatred, I've not seen anybody who has described it in that way that isn't, frankly, part of the far right.
I've only seen people that are far right who were concerned about my speech. Humza, in your little psychotic world, maybe that's the case. But in the real world, no. People who live in a 95% white country are offended because you seem to be offended by the fact that people in prominent positions are white. Now, if I went to Pakistan and I stood for Parliament and I got in, which I very much doubt I would do, but if I did and I stood up in the Pakistani Parliament and I said, Prime Minister, Brun, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Brun, Leader of the House, Brun, Shadow First Minister, Brun, Secretary of State for Industry, Brun, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Brun. How would that come across, do you think? How do you think that would come across? I know how you think it would come across. That would be disgusting in Pakistan, but in Scotland it's all right. And because it wouldn't be about brown, it would be about white, that's fine. I was disgusted when I saw this interview. Not because of anything he said, because we can assume, I think, the normal person in the street, not far right, not far left, the normal person in the street, the average voter, can assume that Humza treats white skin with contempt, because that's the aggressive way that he delivered that speech. He delivered it as someone that felt aggrieved. And I don't think Psychopathy is a good trait for a First Minister of any country. Although I think Westminster is absolutely full of them. The Sunaks and the Starmers. Who's wait? But I just saw this and I just thought there's a total lack of self-awareness.
How do you feel about that?
So a couple of points to make. The description of those who reference that speech as hatred, I've not seen anybody who has described it in that way that isn't frankly part of the far right.
A total lack of respect for the voters in Scotland who are white. Just a total apathy to what other people feel. And that was very, very worrying. Now, the abuse that his family has allegedly got, disgusting, no matter who it's from. And I really hope that stops. But him as a person, I really hope the people of Scotland, whether they're white, brown, black, whatever colour they class themselves, whatever creed they class themselves, whatever religion they class themselves, get rid of that maniac at the next elections. Now, there will be some that vote SNP who dislike the English so much, dislike Westminster so much, and I can understand that bit, that they still want to vote SNP. There'll be a few of them. But I think most people are awakening. They can see that we've got real tyranny coming our way if we don't unite. And I'm not just on about the independence issue or, you know, the union issue. I'm talking about, as people, we need to unite. These cultural Marxists, and there are lots of them, and they've penetrated all governments, they're coming for us. We need to do something different and we need to fight back. And not accepting this sort of racist, cultural Marxist rubbish from the unelected First Minister of Scotland is where we start. And I suggest anything else that he says that you're offended by, report him. I've never been for that. I've never been for that. Even when people were saying to me, oh, he should be reported for that white speech. No, he shouldn't. Because we shouldn't have a hate law that works around someone's intent or someone's view or someone's offence. Someone getting offended by hurty words. There shouldn't be such a law. Yes, if someone's inciting violence, yeah, they should be nicked. If someone's inciting hatred, genuine hatred against a group in the community, yeah, I'm okay with them being nicked. Even though I still think it's better to listen to these people. You know, I'm not really for all this. If someone's violent towards someone, nick them. Give them a longer prison sentence than they're getting at the moment. If someone's inciting violence or saying, go round and harass Humza and his family, nick them. Even psychopaths should be allowed to say what they want as long as they don't harm anyone. So I don't want to report it. But when I see the lack of self-awareness and this, call everyone far right, call them gammons. If they're white, call them gammons. Call them racists, that'll get them. And when that starts to, that used to be a horrible term, but now it's just water off a duck's back. And now far right. The only thing far right in Scotland, apart from the odd smattering of probably total nutters who want someone with a different skin colour armed or out the country or whatever, and you're going to get them everywhere. Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Jamaica, Nigeria, Pakistan, India, Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, Russia. Apart from that smattering, most people don't want to harm anyone else. They just want to voice their opinions. And when someone seems so anti a certain skin colour, apart from them, the only people that I can see who are far right would probably be people who act like the Stasi, who act like the SS. And that'll probably be members of Police Scotland if they start arresting people for thought crime. I'll leave that with you. You've seen the video. Copyright belongs to the BBC, by the way, but I thought I'd use it for educational purposes. And oh, by the way, the guy that's interviewing him, softly, fluffy, I've seen him interview other people like Jordan Peterson, and he was an absolute arse.
You say science undoubtedly shows us that men and women have different traits, and there's a lot of science to back you up on that. But you say that because of that, men are hardwired to achieve success and to be successful in a way that women are not.
No, not at all. I've never said anything like that. I've said that there are biological differences between men and women that express themselves in temperament and in occupational choice, and that any attempt to enforce equality of outcome is unwarranted and ill-advised as a consequence.
And yet some of the most successful societies, judged on contentment indices or indeed material success, are those, for example, in Scandinavia.
Where the temperamental differences between men and women are larger than they are in any other society.
Well, so you say, you point out that in Scandinavia many more women choose to be health workers than engineers, for example.
It's not what I say, it's what the large-scale scientific investigation has revealed.
Fair enough. But equally, Scandinavia is full of societies, one could point to Norway, where they've made a specific legislative effort, for example, with a quota of 40% of women on corporate boards or a quota for women to be in parliament.
Right.
They've specifically engaged in social engineering, and it seems to be working, and it seems to
Doesn't seem to be working particularly.
Forgive me, but Norway is top of every contentment index that we see across the world.
Well, okay, so first of all, Norway has plenty of oil money, which is definitely contributing to that.
So tells you all you need to know about the BBC, I guess. They're not on your side, that's a fact. Okay, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for the channel. Please throw the video a like, and speak to you soon.